All right, check that microphone. Yep. All right, after a computer restart and getting everything readjusted after the weekend, it is back live with you here on this Monday, July 14th. It's Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop. You can wake up with us each and every weekday morning around 8 o'clock. We go live here on YouTube for Illinois in Focus every weekday morning. And, of course, we've got stuff to tackle with a lot of different issues still up in the air, especially when it comes to the Second Amendment and litigation that's ongoing. We'll take a look at the Schoenthal case and the status update there after the appeals court said that they needed more information from plaintiffs before they come out with an order on whether or not people, in particular plaintiffs in this case, in the Schoenthal case, can carry concealed firearms on mass transit. So there's a filing on Friday, actually several, but we only have access to one, so we'll review some of that coming up. So stay tuned for that. We also got to possibly delve into a little bit of where cannabis tax money goes and just how much cannabis tax revenue we're talking about, especially in the conversation that's continuing over hemp regulations. So we'll hear a little bit about that as well. Up next, though, we're going to have to tackle the latest in the ongoing consternation between the state of Illinois and the federal government when it comes to immigration enforcement, with Governor J.B. Pritzker putting out a Know Your Rights campaign message on getting non-citizens to understand how the state says they have rights when it comes to interacting with federal immigration authorities. So that's something else we're going to tackle this morning. A lot to get to. I'm Greg Bishop. Join us in the live chat room, where you can have more conversations about these issues and other things. Again, the live chat room is each and every weekday morning here with Illinois in Focus Daily. All right, stay tuned. Got segments coming up here for Illinois in Focus. As federal immigration authorities continue to enforce immigration laws in the state and across the country, you're going to see more and more of the political back and forth over how certain states, like sanctuary states like Illinois and California and New York and others, and these different jurisdictions are interacting or not interacting with federal law enforcement. This is Illinois in Focus Daily. We look at the land of Lincoln and what's going on, and of course, lots happening, especially when it comes to the ongoing conflict and back and forth between the federal government and a state like Illinois concerning federal immigration law. Over the weekend, Governor J.B. Pritzker posted this. It says, "Know your rights, Illinois. Here in our state, we stand up for all children and families. Head to the Illinois Immigration Information Hub to learn your rights, make a plan for your family, find legal help, and stay informed about changes to immigration laws." So you can see here he shared some screen grabs of a Know Your Rights campaign flyer. But if you click through to this IllinoisImmigrationInfo.org website, you'll see that this is kind of a public-private partnership of sorts, because it's got these different organizations, the Illinois Coalition for Immigrant and Refugee Rights, the ICIRR, you've got Immigrant Justice, the Resurrection Project, National Immigration Center. These are the nonprofits that are involved in this particular website. But you also have the state involved, the Illinois Department of Human Services and the City of Chicago's Office of Immigrant and Migrant and Refugee Rights. So let's take a look at some of what this website has on it, because the governor is directing people to this website, and you can see right up at the top, it's got a phone number for if you're in an immigration emergency, but it's also got some hot links to, top help items. They say find essential guidance about how to protect yourself and loved ones, including my loved one's been detained. You can fill out a form there. Prepare for ICE encounter. You can get more information. Let's see what this one says. Know your rights. Different types of campaign flyers that you can put out there. Let's see what those have to say. Remain calm. Do not run. Keep your hands where the agents can see them. If you have the right to deny entry without a valid warrant. It then gives you a couple of different examples of what a valid warrant looks like, or at least a judicial warrant, which ICE can enter the home, versus an administrative warrant that they say ICE cannot enter the home. It goes on, you have a right to remain silent, and you have the right to speak to an attorney, and you have the right to not sign anything. So that's just, again, frustrated with the state of Illinois being able to give standard driver's licenses or state IDs to non-citizens. Now, Illinois does have law that allows many immigrants, it says, without a social security number to get a standard, not a real ID, a standard ID. So federal limits still apply, but you can get a standard driver's license or standard ID card that's not real ID compliant. So they wouldn't be able to fly domestically, for instance, if they don't have a real ID. They wouldn't be able to get into certain federal buildings, like military buildings, without a federal real ID, the federally compliant real ID, but they can still get a driver's license in Illinois. So more on that from the Illinois Immigration Info.org website. You can also report violations of rights as you may see it. And again, more information all about that. But that's what the governor's promoting here on his X account and his social media accounts. And you can go through and read all of the various reactions that there are. Former state representative and former Republican gubernatorial candidate challenging Bruce Rauner back in the day. Jeannie Ives, she said, exactly what is Pritzker implying? How about know your laws, like not entering the country illegally? Rhonda Ezell says, we know our rights. We have a right to keep and bear arms. Your unconstitutional PICA Act will be taken down. So referring to the Second Amendment there. So there's the governor, right? But there's other things that state of Illinois U.S. Representative Mary Miller brought to Pritzker's attention when he testified in front of Congress. When was that, last month? Like June 12th or something? Here's that interaction that Mary Miller shared on her social media.
After the presidential election, you stated on MSNBC that, and I quote, I am going to do everything that I can to protect our undocumented immigrants, end quote. Mr. Chairman, I ask unanimous consent to submit a Fox News report into the record titled, Dem Governor J.B. Pritzker vows to do everything I can to protect our undocumented immigrants.
Congresswoman, I was talking about the people who have lived in our state for decades
These
now.
policies are not only deadly, but they have cost Illinois taxpayers billions, to the tune of $3 billion since 2022. Governor, your state budget doesn't balance without massive yearly tax increases. This year, you hiked taxes by $800 million. Your budgets fund the services of illegal aliens, while Americans are left behind.
Inaccurate. Nearly everything is mischaracterized in your statement.
Governor, I judge you based on your actions, not on your words. And from what I can tell, you are doing everything in your power to roll out the red carpet for illegal aliens to protect them, all at the expense of working people of Illinois. Your policies have been disastrous for our state, and they would be disastrous for our country. And with that, I yield back.
So there you go. There's just a little bit of that back and forth with Congresswoman Mary Miller and Governor J.B. Pritzker last month. So we looked at some of the Know Your Rights campaign material, right? And even the link to get information on how a non-citizen without a social security number can get a standard driver's license in Illinois. But others were concerned earlier this year with legislation that advanced out of the Illinois General Assembly to allow for for name changes, and name changes in particular that don't have to be published in a newspaper. This measure, during a lame duck session early in this year, January of this year, this is a little bit of the debate back and forth on how that played out in the Illinois Senate.
5164, as you all recall, came before this committee in veto session. We had some outreach from the state's attorneys the morning after the committee hearing, and at their request, we've added Senate Floor Amendment number 1, which clarifies that if a court grants a motion to impound a file as allowed by the bill, a name change shall be reported to the Illinois State Police, and the Illinois State Police must update any criminal history, transcript, or offender registration for each person 18 years of age or older to include the change of name as well as the person's former name.
We should know who's here. We should be able to track any change of name to evade something in their past or history. Here we're allowing that to be sealed. The state police is not getting involved in that or tracking that. That is sealed, and that is going to be an easy path or avenue for someone here illegally to just kind of wipe clean their past, albeit their past is from outside of Illinois.
Illinois is one of a few states that has growing population, but only in the illegal immigrants that are coming here. Legal residents, of course, are leaving the state. And then this was doubled down with the Trust Act that was wrongly signed into law and was supported by the overwhelming majority in your party. And this is the final piece of what Governor Pritzker said, you have to go through me, which is why we're doing this on a Sunday in the middle of a snowstorm with little media out here. This is why we're doing this.
Again, this is just a recap. This is from January of this year. We're just kind of going through some of the things that the state of Illinois is putting out there for non-citizens who are worried they might get deported or, as Democrats say, get kidnapped and taken into immigration authorities handling. So this idea of allowing for name changes that aren't going to be published, Republicans warned it's going to cloak non-citizens, illegal immigrants from law enforcement.
This is how you cover up all the wrongdoings of state policy.
This is not something that was held for a snowstorm. This was legislation that passed the House in May. We had it on the docket for veto session. We held it specifically because the morning after it passed committee, the state's attorney asked us for an amendment. This is legislation that is very focused on removing the requirement for an individual to publicize their name in a newspaper. Let's talk about who those individuals are. Those individuals are adoptees. They're survivors of domestic and intimate partner violence, survivors of human trafficking, survivors of gender-based violence, transgender people, and refugees.
So again, that's State Senator Ram Villi-Vallam alongside some Republicans debating this measure that allows for those changing their name to not be required to publish it in a newspaper. Republicans felt that allowed for illegal aliens to change their name and cloak from law enforcement. It's a lot to take in. But it's right here with Illinois in Focus Daily. Governor J.B. Pritzker out there telling people how to know their rights. Again, you can go see that website at illinoisimmigrationinfo.org. illinoisimmigrationinfo.org. State of Illinois is spending tens of millions, hundreds of millions, if not billions over the past few years on illegal alien non-citizen asylum seekers, a whole category of certain non-citizens in the state of Illinois. All right, Illinois in Focus Daily. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Wake up with us each and every weekday morning here for more of Illinois in Focus Daily. Plaintiffs suing the state of Illinois over the state's prohibition of carrying concealed firearms on mass transit has standing, the state says, but the district court still got it wrong, according to the states. That's the latest filing we've got in the Schoenthal case in the Northern District of Illinois that's now in the appeals courts after a district judge said that it was unconstitutional to prohibit concealed carry holders the ability to carry concealed firearms on mass transit. It's Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and wake up with us each and every weekday morning here on YouTube. But don't forget, you can get the headlines in your inbox. Go to the centersquare.com and sign up for the newsletter. So we've been tracking litigation against Illinois' various gun laws, and we're still waiting on the oral arguments September 22nd of the gun ban challenge out of the Southern District of Illinois, where Judge Stephen McGlynn found the law unconstitutional, and now it's in the appeals court with the state having to defend that. So we've got a filing that's expected from the state coming up here in about 14 days, and that'll be the final filing in this case before the appeals court hears oral arguments September 22nd. So that's the gun ban challenge. But another case that we've been tracking is the challenge against the state's prohibition of carrying concealed firearms on mass transit, especially by those who have a concealed carry license. So you have a group of plaintiffs that sued back in 2022. The case made it all the way through the district courts, and the district judge siding with the plaintiffs that the law is unconstitutional as applied to them. So it wasn't a broad, across the state, hey, if you got concealed carry, you can carry on mass transit. They're just keeping it really narrow to the plaintiffs in this case, at least for now. We'll see what happens if it gets through the appeals court and maybe up to the U.S. Supreme Court when it comes to the issue of prohibiting people who are concealed carry license holders from carrying concealed firearms on mass transit. So case filed in 2022. Last year, I believe it was, when the district judge found it to be unconstitutional. Maybe it was earlier this year. I'll have to look at my notes there in January. But regardless, it's now in the appeals court. So after a district judge said the plaintiffs are correct that this is unconstitutional, it's now in the appeals court. Well, they had oral arguments on this case, but you have the courts ordering they need supplemental information before they can come to a order. They essentially said that the defendants in here, Eileen O'Neill Burke, Cook County State's attorney, argued that a favorable decision would not redress plaintiff's appellee's injury because even without a certain regulation, other restrictions prohibits plaintiff appellees from carrying firearms on public transit. So they want more information about that in particular. Friday, you had briefs that were submitted by the state, briefs that were submitted for Schoenthal and others, and also a brief filed by the Cook County State's attorney's office. We only have access to the file that the state, the brief that the state filed, just because I think with the courts there's some process of making sure that all the litigants get access to the briefs before they're made public. So we've got the state one, and we'll take a look at that now. It's just a few pages here of some dense legalese on this Monday morning with Illinois in Focus. So bear with me here as we pull this document up. But again, this was filed on Friday in the 7th Circuit U.S. Court of Appeals in the Schoenthal case. So it says the courts directed state defendants to provide a position statement on whether plaintiffs have standing. In state defendants' view, plaintiffs Douglas Winston likely has standing. So the state's saying this particular plaintiff has standing. Winston seeks to carry firearms on Chicago Transit Authority trains and buses. The relevant CTA ordinance is likely best read to permit individuals who are entitled to carry firearms under state law on public transit to do so on CTA property, and Winston would be such a person where Concealed Carry Act particular elements were to be held unconstitutional. Because at least Winston likely has standing, the court has no need to address whether any other plaintiff has standing. To demonstrate standing, a plaintiff must allege injury fairly traceable to the defendant's alleged unlawful conduct and likely to be redressed by the requested relief. To show redressability, The plaintiff must show that it is likely, not speculative, that its injury will be remedied by the relief it seeks. Winston has likely established an injury redressable by favorable judgment. Winston attests the district court found that he is licensed to carry a handgun under the Concealed Carry Act, and he wishes to carry concealed firearms on CTA and buses and trains. But the Concealed Carry Act bars him from doing so and imposes criminal penalties for failure to comply. The district court entered judgment in favor of Winston and against defendants, holding that that section of the law violates Winston's Second Amendment rights. The judgment is affirmed by this court. If the judgment is affirmed by this court, the judgment would redress Winston's injuries by precluding law enforcement of Section 6665A-B against him, permitting him to carry concealed firearms on CTA buses absent the threat of enforcement of the state. But it goes on to then, gets down to the bottom here and says, while the plaintiff has standing, the state still thinks that the district court erred in their final judgment in this case. So that's just a little flavor of what is expected in some of the other filings we're going to see from the plaintiffs, but also from Cook County as well when it comes to this. So the state says, hey, they have standing in this, but they think that the district court got it wrong, finding that it's unconstitutional to prohibit concealed carry license holders from carrying concealed firearms on mass transit. All right, it's Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and wake up with us each and every weekday morning where we'll give you the latest, once we find it, of what's going on with litigation against Illinois' gun laws. All right, get the headlines at thecentersquare.com. Get the podcast where you get podcasts. Just search Illinois in Focus. All right, guys, on this Monday, in a summer week ahead of us, I think that's all I got for you. I do have some stats and numbers pulled on where the cannabis tax money's going. So maybe we do that tomorrow. Just with the overall conversation about hemp and looking at regulations on hemp. Cannabis in Illinois is legal for recreational use, and there's a lot of money from taxes going to that. Where's exactly it going? Well, we'll take a look at some of that tomorrow. So join me tomorrow for that, all right? I got to get out of here, get the news week started, and see what kind of stuff we can drum up and find to report out to you to how you're being impacted by the state of Illinois. So join us here tomorrow for more Illinois in Focus Daily. Have a great day.
Red.